Spin-offs have been around forever. They can be created in conjunction with seemingly all forms of media. Books, movies, TV shows, and video games. Video games specifically can be a mixed bag when it comes to them. Persona 5 has more spin-offs than I have fingers to count with, and there is only really one of them worth playing. While other franchises are created off of spin-offs, the entirety of Super Mario is a spin-off of Donkey Kong. And the massive Italian IP has spin-offs of its own. But because Mario is already one, when you go into a spin-off of a spin-off, it can get weird. Well, at least weird enough to turn the entire world into paper and change the platforming format into an RPG, for some reason. And though it's an interesting choice of direction for the series, to say the least, it's not a bad one by any means. I mean, it would only be a one-off title on the N64 and not an entire spin-off series if it was. The only outlier is Sticker Star, and hot take, it's not even that bad. But due to the random popularity of a paper version of an Italian plumber, PlayStation caught wind and said, I want a piece of that pie, and created their own craft-themed IP with Little Big Planet. And though the game was centered around a world made from things like scissors and tape, they still did their own thing with the idea by making the protagonist out of yarn instead of paper. And it was a huge success, almost as big as the inspiration it took from, big enough that the games have even come out recently. But as PlayStation caught wind of Nintendo's paper, Nintendo caught wind of PlayStation's yarn. And the Mario Ninjas hopped on that train almost instantly by releasing Kirby's Epic Yarn, Yoshi's Woolly World, and Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which all looked very similar artistically, due to them all having the same art style, of course. With the Little Big Planet sequels being released in between the other games I mentioned's release, it was almost overwhelming with all the yarn and paper, to the point where I wouldn't recommend playing any of these titles back to back because it will undoubtedly get absolutely stale. The 2010s were a very interesting time, going from an obsession with craft-like games to toys-to-life ones. Games were all over the place like these. And maybe they aren't the greatest pieces of media to revisit all the time. LEGO Dimensions, for instance, doesn't have too many actually fun levels to go back to. As a kid, it didn't matter. Growing up with all these experimental versions of the franchises I loved was like Disney magic to me. And nostalgia being the only reason I look back on this era with such fondness isn't necessarily a bad thing. I look back sometimes and wish that Nintendo and Sony were still this creative and willing to take as many drastic risks with their franchises. Nonetheless, this was still most definitely a golden era of video games. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. It gives me the motivation to make more content for y'all. Anyways, Daniel out.